This is day 374 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you'd like to sponsor upcoming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. It would be very greatly appreciated. Much appreciated too. So today, Siman Reish Dun Zayin, Sif Chaf, to Siman Reish Dun Tes, Sif Beis. Wow, okay. Sounds like a lot, right? Chaf. After She'ein Tomnin, B'Shabbos Afilu Double Shem Mosif. If you have it again to add money on Shabbos, even the same which does add heat. Nevertheless, if you did have money from before Shabbos began, these Gal Mishchashecha, they become uncovered after no dark. And go back and cover it again. And you can even deliberately open up and cover again if necessary. But it became uncovered before nightfall. After it comes night, you can't cover it again. That's like doing hatmana deliberately and on Shabbos itself. Taisa says indicates it's only when you yourself uncovered it from before Shabbos. Also, he can't cover up after Shabbos begins. But it becomes revealed on its own. Mutter permissible ayin sham. As Mishabur said this, but Mishabur Paskin even becomes revealed on its own. It's still awesome. Sharatim writes the name of the Gra that even if you revealed it ben hashmoshos after the sunset, it's still awesome to cover again on Shabbos. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. Rabbi says here, he passes like Ushami, which is how we just saw in the Mishnah Berurah that even became revealed on its own. It's usur. It became revealed before Shabbos. In fact, we remains a suffix. For Gama Rosh Kosu, this is Rosh Rats, this is the item you should know. The Enkel Bashgila Das Lachzor doesn't mean able to reveal it with the intent to recover it again. To go and cover again, so even you reveal without the intent to cover again. Because don't make that differentiation when it comes to Admona. Brackets, this man we could actually equate the positions in the machlokes. The gam, these gal to mi'atzma, even when revealed on its own, nuchal chalik we can distinguish bein ra v'lo chashash chasos when you saw it and you did not concern yourself to cover it again. These guys and then you had a mind to cover it again. Then you decided to change your mind to cover it again. Or if you immediately wanted when you saw it, you wanted to cover it again. Viduk. That would be if there was such a difference, but Posky don't make such a difference between intentional and non-intentional. Well, you can cover it when it became revealed on Shabbos. You can add to the installation on Shabbos as long as it's not stuff which adds heat. They wanted to remove the entire covering. Put another covering in its place. Where the first one is warmer than the second one, even the second covering is going to be hotter than the first one. The came and show you love Shem Hatmana. What's that? The Chalei Shem Hatmana. What was that situation? Ein Zat Mara Chadash Mutter. It's on the new Hatmana and it's permissible. Even if there was on the pot a light covering, like a blanket, like a sheet, Yachol litlo. You can take it away, and cover it gufkirin. Now, I don't know what gufkirin is, but it says here, fortunately, you should bag it up, which is a thick garment. This is when the pot was completely cooked. Even if it's getting better over time, because that one is not really cooking. But wasn't completely cooked previously. Not even allowed to add to the covering. It can be time because this covering may add something to it. Besides that, you might take it away its stand as is and put it on a oven which has still coals in it. You head there, and and that's no good. No. I'm sorry. For old shiachol lios shemi derek moshe mechusa al akira sheish v'lecholim. Right. No, actually, it was right the first time. You were not only allowed to do because it might put that on the oven. So what should you do? I said over after she's bar b'sim yud beis. You should do it in the manner which it was specified in Sif Yud Beis that's permissible. Shab goyim lo yigu bacteria, that the garment should not touch, insulate the pot by touching it. Or directly rachava, with a broad vessel on top of the smaller vessel which type. Sham like wrote there. Brackets he says in the indication not like the Magen Avram, but in any event he says it seems like the issue is that we're not more concerned about that you might come to because once you adding on a covering, you might come to make a cook, not that you might come to remove it actually and put it on the stove. Okay, that's not as important as the actual halacha. Because the mate chabes hatmana b'davar she'eino mosif hevel, being doing hatmana in something which is not mosif hevel, lo asur b'davar cham she'iskan kli rishon. It's only if the cooked dish itself was made, it was cooked in a kli rishon. Avol mutzat minas atzonin. We're allowed to insulate something which is cold. Shirimino, you put it in insulation, they should start to be yoser, so it should become cooler. Or they should to diminish its coldness. But I feel Adam Chasha says okay, and we can find even an important person, a VIP, can do this. She came with Tzil Magmar. We can find the Gemara of Nachman Asa Kain Ayin Shab. Nachman did this. Lo, now this feeling Pinot Tavshil b'Shabbos Mikdei she's bashvah K'tei Acheres. Even move the cooked dish on Shabbos from the pot which is cooked to another pot. You can in that second pot do atmana even on Shabbos itself. Came which is since it's no longer the first pot. We're not afraid it's going to come to boil like we were afraid in the previous sif. Because you yourself did a mice to cool it down when you poured it. To another vessel. How is it possible to conceive that you're going to come and make it hotter if you did a mice to make it cooler? Mishnah Berurah says that this means even you move it to another pot and still yatzor lenisbo. The second pot, you still do hatmana, and whatever with something which is not mostly favorable. And he says also that there was none of kamina if you had in mind specifically to make it cold or not. But in any event, the reality is that moving another pot makes it cold. You can do atmana in that second pot. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. I've got the even though it comes to putting it on top of the oven. It's worse when you put it from one heater to another heater. This is where I obviously doing this on top of the stove, because so he says that's why about you putting on a stove which or oven which has coals there. Clearly, I'm going to heat it up. As opposed to eating the default assumption is not going to heat anything up, and therefore, if you put another keli, it's okay. The Arukh HaShulchan goes so far as to hazard the possibility that even in the kli rishon itself, if it came a little bit cooler, you're allowed to atmana. Such as when you took it from the stove or the oven and put it on the ground for some time. On the ground on the table. Then afterwards, you could put it do atmana, but with something which does not add heat. B'tam said for this reason came to come also the time since you have in mind ain't to cool off any way to cool off somewhat. Sharatiyam brings the Shittas argue about this, but he says ain't lahachmir b'zeh if it's makam atzorech. Back to Arukh HaShulchan, because the bein mosif hevel, of course, it's only when it's not mosif hevel. Aval medavar mosif hevel, something which adds heat. Also, I feel that means turning garment now allowed to put even something which is absolutely cold as such a substance. But of course, we said even before Shabbos began, it's also to do so. It's like we had the insulation in hot ash, where Chachamim didn't draw a distinction. He says in the brackets, "Chokar mutter." If it's cold sand, that's permissible. In other words, the sand is only mostly hevel if it is actually warmish, at least. The Sharat Sion says that most hevel. Well, it's just very cool if he actually says what it says. He says here that if it's a dover kar legamrei, excuse me, and mibod yom could might make it bedover im bedover mosif hevel. I guess it's not going to get cooked at all. It's not going to get hot at all. So dover mosif hevel is only also an insulating something which is already hot. It's be cool from the Shabura. Okay. Reish Nuches, Bedin Lania Kli Kara al Kli Chama. Putting a coal which is vessel which is cold on a vessel which is hot. Aleph, Kosav Rambam, so Perek Daled. The Menichin Mecham al Gabi Mecham Shabbos could a pot on top of a pot on Shabbos. Ukdera Gabi, well, Mecham is a heater, a heater. Top heater on Shabbos. Ukdera Gabi, a pot on top of a pot. Ukdera Gabi Mecham and a hot on top of a heater. I should say Mecham is like is an urn. That's the word I was looking for. Mecham al Gabi, an urn on a pot. The talk b'nei PM b'batzek. And you can seal their openings with dough. Not that they should get hot. But they should retain their heat. They only forbade hatmon on Shabbos. They only forbade hatmon on Shabbos. But to put one hot vessel, another hot vessel, they should preserve their heat. Mutter, that's missile. If you know, ein menichim kli sheish bo tzavar tzonen al gabe kli cham b'Shabbos. No, it's not in field. Avol ein menichim kli sheish bo tzavar tzonen al gabe kli cham b'Shabbos. You can't put a vessel which has something cold on top of a hot vessel on Shabbos. Shei moli bo cham b'Shabbos, because you're putting heat into it on Shabbos. If you put it that way from before Shabbos, it's permissible. It's not like Tomim Davar Mosif Hevel. Akal Shana, this is the end of the Rambam. In the brackets, he says that this is in the Gemara. So, Tomim, not like the Gershon we have in front of us. The Mecham there also, which forbids an urn on top of a pot. And Rashi also says that eating an urn on top of a pot is also permissible. Base, Beard Vorn. What does this mean? If you put a hot vessel on top of another hot vessel, there's no cooking, and they're both equal in their heating. But if they're not equivalent, and we're going to speak about it later on. Because we're concerned about the upper pot, and that's revealed. It's also not like leaving something on top of an oven. There's coal. There's a lot of heat. As opposed to an urn on top of an urn. Raksain also owns complete coal elimination molid. Oh, interesting. You bring about heat. The Biur Halacha says even that's the case, when it's not really shiat, so that is both permissible. Back to Roshon Erev Shabbos Mutter before Shabbos begins permissible. Because it's not insulated. Upashu, it's clear. The mashakos of betachpim, but it's about to say you can seal the openings with the dough. Zel shabbatze hilosh erev Shabbos. That's where we have dough ready for erev Shabbos. Allowed to put it on. The fish is not permanent. It's only temporary. Upashu, it's clear. The kshaktero menesalish, when the pot is on the fire. Also, meet olav oktera mecham. You now put on it another pot or urn. That's Hatshoah, and Mishnah Berurah argues. It's a big chumrah for Arukh HaShulchan. Mishnah Berurah argues. He says that's mutter even if the bottom pot is on the fire, which would seem to be a whole half of a blech. Perhaps Arukh HaShulchan say about a scenario where it's not going for katan. Not sure. Further on, the Yeshul Tam Mash Ein Shayr B'Zat Mora. There's no prohibition until this year. Because it's going to get cooler and cooler. And it's not really insulated. Okay, so by hot ash and coals, they also get cooler. Their heat is very strong. Below the chamin, it's not like the heat of the heat in of the dish or the beverage. I really don't need all this in this shot. Ella l'deresh is bar. Only according to the opinion holds about mother shule clear al gecholim havet mora, that when you put the bottom of the pot literally on top of the coals, that's it tomorrow. I have a Kvanis bar already explained on El Kamala. We hold the kosher, but they don't need my batocha as long as us is not insulated. Lo having madmona, it's not admona. Those who are questioning, people in the winter lochim keli, they take a vessel tochom mashke kara, which is a cold beverage, and they put this beverage into this keli, into a keli which is full of hot water, to dissipate the coolness of the water in the inner kli. That is considered to be complete and total hatmona. The Mishnah Berurah says, well, it depends what your intent is, because if your intent is to to make it a little bit less cold, where it can become the lettuce bow, then b'shas tzorech you can rely on those who are lenient. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. We never heard of people who take a keli with cold and put it into a keli with hot water in order to diminish its cold. But this we heard, that women will take the vessel shakugel b'socha, which is a kugel, but also as a keli, kula talk there, they put the entire vessel in the big pot of the chunk. That is complete hadmona. Which is adding heat. Since the pot is in the oven, which is full of coals. This also even free from being Shavuot Shabbos begins. So if you dalid, mitam dakteria mikodim batanur, that since the vessel was previously in the oven, tam mechubar, or because the mechubar karkai and sham, but I told you it's best not to do this. It says in brackets, perhaps it's the oven is sealed, and that would also be mutter, just like by Shiyah. So many people put kugel inside the cholent, inside a parchment paper or inside a foil. That I don't think that's what we're talking about here, because that's not considered to be hatmana. It's really just to retain the shape of the kugel. It's not being matmi the kugel. So hatmana is, I know some people are macher that, but I don't think that's going to be hatmana. Because it's about where you put a keli with the kugel inside the cholent, not a foil, aluminum foil, or parchment paper. But a keli is appropriate to be machmer. Back to Arukh HaShulchan in Dalet. V'gam yesh lizoy tzayim b'shnias chamim b'Shabbos. Everyone drinking coffee by boker in the morning. Shmamina metanor kli cheres. We put in the oven a pottery vessel, or kli nechoshes, or copper vessel. Imayim, which is called with water, which is called lake, which is called lake. V'gam atrainik imate. Mamina nor also the teapot with the tea put in the oven. Lochim abokim atur shasim, and take from the oven and drink. Tzichem lizer shloich chasu loes halayk v'loes atrainik. Not to cover where this urn or this pot, but b'pachos or b'chevet zacher with a kerchief or some other object. Shezot admona gemura, because that's complete admona. Lichatchil on Shabbos. Initial admona on Shabbos. Davish eno mosif hevel, albeit it's something which is not mosif hevel, but still it's also k'mosh inspired. It's still forbidden Davish eno mosif hevel to do admona lichatchila on Shabbos. Rational test. In which the talta davish nima betochen, you carry the thing which that more took place. Became medin stiras pia tanur. Also had to open the sealed oven. Aleph. Yodua. Davi Yodua it's well known. She called the Russia any royal ishtam shivshet the bed Shabbos. Any which is not suitable to use in permitted way on Shabbos. Or feel royal or even suitable. She ain't made the kach but stop may set aside for that purpose. Having muktzah is muktzah, but also until you're not allowed to move it. So you didn't use garments or pillows or blankets, but rather used a soft flock, flock, whatever. Like cotton with cliched or a plucked wool from an animal. He didn't designate them for an ongoing substance for Atmana purposes. Because we did designate them, then they're already considered to be keli vis-a-vis hatmana. We'll tell them until you're allowed to carry to move them. Who likes them? He doesn't designate them. El Shid mean by Bamach just to have one of them one time. Okay, lo mikre shom nikas are not called designated for that purpose. Muktzim can be called them, therefore they're considered to be muktzah. Asur betiltu you're not allowed to move them. They had b'shad mona. He mikre because that had mona was not designated for that purpose, but just because that was what you had available. Lachen ish mishom and those say mashim mishnei pamim. Once you did it twice with the same material, have a kichel hadmona. So you designate for hadmona mutar until then there's no issue of muktzah at all. Mishnah says even yichud be'machshava works. Not you don't have to specify verbally. It's possible to say that with when you have this flock in which you did hadmona one time, so long as it's not intended for commerce to be sold, you're allowed to use it over again. So only 2 times, just 1 time already makes it ois muktzah. Beis l'das riva rama perchavav din beis afil toman begizei tzemer shem chashun kolkach. Even if used bundles of wool which are not so significant, assume it to the tilting out to move them shaloich and the kaf not designated for that purpose. Racking toman ba'oros only if used hides ben shabal bayis b'shulon whether you could belong to the owner or to the craftsman. Mutar mitzvah allowed to move them neish enu makpid aleim. Because they're significant, but you don't care. They're not muktzah machmas chesron kis. You need to designate a specific place for them. Otherwise, you need to use them to insulate your food. Avodas rova poskim gambasi gizet semer habi ka'oros. According to most poskim, bundles of wool are also like hides. Even if you did have one once, they're allowed to be carried subsequently and no longer muktzah on subsequent shabbosos. That is, of course, only bundles of wool which are not intended for selling. I mean, not some oats, but if you put them in a warehouse, it's for the purpose of commerce. And you don't want them to get ruined. You're not allowed to move them on Shabbos unless you designate them. Or they use them for Atmona 2 times. Once would not be considered enough.